What do you think of this Sunday Night Football game with Brady returning? What are your 2 cents on that, Billy? What do you think of that?
I mean, color me into the wrong camp, but I am just so sick of the Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, forever and ever story. Now, is he the greatest? He probably is. So there's no grudge there, and it's not that. I just, this once the sports media kind of picks up on one of these stories, they just grind it into the ground. You know what I mean? Like as a narrative, like I just can't take it anymore. So it's turned me off the Tom Brady brand, but not because Tom Brady turned me off the Tom Brady brand. The sports media turned me off the Tom Brady brand. Because it gets to the point where it's like, did you see him walk on water? Did you see Gronk hallucinate? It's like at some point I just can't deal with it. It takes the fun out of the game. You know what I mean? We have these arguments in rock, like who's the greatest? It's like, well, they're all the greatest. I mean, I saw Dan Marino play. I saw Brett Favre throw on a dead run to the sideline, throw a 65-yard pass and a touchdown into the end zone at Soldier Field off of 1 foot. You know what I mean? It's like, so you're going to have a hard time convincing me that Tom Brady's greater than, Brett Favre. So it's at some point it just becomes like this thing, like it's like a clickbait thing, like, oh my God, he's going back, and oh my God, and and then the Patriots book coming out, and all it's just, I just can't deal with it anymore.
Well, speaking as somebody,
count me out of that crowd.
Well, Billy, speaking as somebody who is literally beating this thing into the ground and plan to do so tomorrow as well.
God bless, you're doing well.
I will push back a little bit here. That the story isn't just is he the greatest of all time, and it is the concept of wanting to have a say in doing it your way after doing it a certain way for a long time, and thinking you should be able to still do it regardless of your age, that's just a number, and then finding another way to do it and then returning to the old ways place with the championship trophy in your hand. We've never seen anything like that. That's the thing that fascinates me on. No, I get it, but
it's all fed by the cult of Tom Brady thing. You know what I mean? Look, I've seen Tom Brady interviewed 50 times after amazing, winning games, and what does he always talk about? He always talks about his team. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get the cult of personality, and I get the thing, and trust me, no one wants to ever sit through a Bill Belichick post-game interview ever again, less than I. I mean, I'm sort of over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to just come off grumpy. It's just, I find it harder to lean into these stories. So I agree with your point, but I think it's like when you've been drilled in the head for, how many years now? It's like the GOAT conversation. It's just like at some point I've tuned out to all that stuff because I just think they've overplayed their hand. And again, I'm putting this on the media.
So is this the wrong time to ask you who's the greatest in rock of all time? Is that this is the bad time to ask that?
No. I mean, I think in terms of influence and depth of accomplishment, I'd probably start with Bob Dylan.
Okay. All right. Who else is on your Mount Rushmore? Because that's what we do in the sports world. You can only give me 3 more.
Well, certainly Lennon and McCartney.
Okay.
Elton John certainly, deserves a nod up there. But I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, again, it's the quarterback conversation. It's like I could literally rattle off 50 names.
Of course you could. And you could do that for the NFL as well at the quarterback position. But Brady is the winningest one of all time, and the numbers that he's putting up seems to be, just skewing our concept of what is the greatest.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the NFL also changed the rules to accommodate Tom Brady. I think it was Dan Marino was talking recently about how he wished he'd played in this league's, era of rules. I mean, let's face it, the league changed the rules because of Tom Brady. So if Tom Brady played in 1984 with, those Oakland Raiders, there may not be a Tom Brady playing at 40-something.
So which rules, what are you referring to that, Billy Corgan?
When it was the whole thing with the, and again, I'm not against the idea of the rule, but it was like the whole idea of like, hitting below the knee and the way they started overly protecting the quarterback.
Billy Corgan.
Once the NFL realized, this is my opinion, once the NFL realized that they needed those guys for ratings.
Yes.
Right, and to sell jerseys, well, then they started protecting those guys. So Tom Brady was one of those people that benefited from those rule changes. I grew up in the era where it's like the quarterback was just as likely to get hit as anybody else on the field.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.